On today's episode of the Marketing Update, the secrets to Pinterest success,
Nutella stops the Nutella shake,
the cost of data,
and when the internet breaks.
All that coming to you and more in just a few moments. Welcome to the Marketing Update. I'm Karen Rubin.
And I'm Mike Volpe.
And we're coming to you from the HubSpot headquarters in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
And we're reporting on the news for the week leading up to October 26th. We've got some good
today.
stuff. For those of you watching, the hashtag is marketing MKTG up. Include that, and we follow those conversations. If you have any ideas of stories or things that you want us to report on or comment on, send it in.
Send your thoughts.
We'll what do we have first?
Episode. So first is the secrets to Pinterest success. This is a great story that was on allthingsd.com, and they were talking, Ben Silbermann, the CEO of Pinterest, which is now, I didn't realize it, the third largest source of referring traffic on the internet.
Yeah.
Like on the whole internet. And he basically came out and said, you know, in 2010, the site had been out for 3 months, they had about 3,000 customers, and they weren't really growing as fast as he thought they should be, or as fast as investors thought he should be. But the fact was the people using the site loved it, and they loved the way it worked, and so he didn't think it was a technology problem. So what he did was he started having local meetups at boutiques. He started to get people to do fun pictures. He got the boutiques to do the share it forward, or bloggers to do share it forward, so they got more invitations to Pinterest that they could give out. And through that, grew the business to the next level. And one of the things he says is it wasn't an algorithm, it wasn't a technology change that made Pinterest a success, it was marketing. It was just changing the way they were marketing.
And I think most people, most investors, the conventional wisdom here is the way that you grow a social network. It's got to be viral, and it's all about the product, and you just need to figure out other ways and change the product so the product itself is more viral. And what he really found was the product itself was great, and he just didn't have enough people that heard about it, and so he figured out ways for it to sort of grow organically. And I think that, or sorry, not organically, but through more marketing. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a really, really interesting story because it really defies that conventional wisdom.
So what's the marketing takeaway?
So the marketing takeaway is that conventional wisdom can be wrong. Okay. I also think this is kind of an inspirational story for marketers. There's a lot of stories about how marketing doesn't matter anymore. It's all about the technology and the tools themselves doing their own marketing. I think this is a really cool example of how marketing can actually help grow your business and be an important part of the success of even something like Pinterest.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So what's
next
up?
We've got we forgot the sign for the first story, Karen. Oh no! Nutella stops the Nutella shake.
I think that this makes me think of dancing. It's
Why?
Nutella's cracking down on
the Nutella shake,
exactly.
it's a Nutella dance. Maybe they would have liked that better, I don't know.
They might have.
But what happens was Ferrero, which is the company that owns Nutella, sent a cease-and-desist order to the Boston-based burrito wrap chain called Boloco because they have a Nutella Milkshake, which is made with Nutella, skim milk, and frozen yogurt. And they've been selling this for 14 years.
No problem.
With no incident. And by the way, it does sound kind of delicious.
It does. I mean, who doesn't love Nutella?
And then, so the company told the Boston Herald that Nutella's legal team said that they were fine with him selling the product, but they don't endorse the use of Nutella or the Nutella brand in frozen beverages.
So you can sell it, but you can't use our name.
Right, but what are you supposed to call it if it's not a Nutella milkshake?
Exactly.
You're supposed to be a chocolate/hazelnut flavored milkshake? What are you supposed to call it? And why wouldn't you want, if you're the company, to be oh, it's a Nutella milkshake? Why would you want them to make it call something else? It's just really, really odd. So in any event, it might have been motivated by a broader concerns because they had to pay out a $3 million to settle a class action lawsuit that alleged that Ferraro overstated the health benefits of Nutella.
Because chocolate hazelnut spread is not apparently the most healthy thing for you to be eating.
It's chocolate and hazelnut and oil and sugar mixed together, and it's delicious. But I don't know why they were claiming health benefits.
Yeah, I can't
in any event. So they might have been worried about that. Maybe the lawyers have now taken over control of the company. But what do you think about this story?
We've talked about this before. Should you sue? Should you not sue? Maybe you sue just to get a bigger talk about it. I have to say, they probably should have worked with Boloco to make the marketing what they want to be, but I think they're better off having the Nutella milkshake at Boloco because people love it.
Yeah, and if I was Boloco, I would try to figure out some way. Maybe there's someone else who would want to create a competitor to Nutella and work with them on co-marketing or something. I don't know. So in any event,
Boloco could take it the next level.
Yeah. So marketing
takeaway here is before you sue, think twice. Make sure it's what's in the best interest of your business.
All right, let's talk about the cost of data.
So this was a great article on Social Media Examiner. Facebook permissions are basically what you as a marketer collect and why you're using it, and it's how people are giving you information through Facebook.
Yeah.
It's a Facebook feature. But one of the things, and some data, well, data, I don't know if that's not quite that, but basically
anecdotal data.
Anecdotal data. The writer of this article found out that, or talked to apparently a Facebook product engineer who said that the opt-in rate drops by 10% for every field of information you ask. So if you ask for the email address, 10% off. If you ask for their name, 10% off. If you ask for their birthday, 10% off. And so if you ask for 5 pieces of data, 50% of the people that click through and show interest in your app or your Facebook page or anything are gone. Just gone right off the bat.
Yeah.
That's a lot of loss.
It is, but this is a message or sort of a theme that marketers have learned from dealing with landing pages, and typically the more fields you have in your landing page, the lower your conversion rate. And it's one of those things where you just need to balance the value of the additional information you're collecting with the cost of getting that information, which is having fewer people actually complete the form.
Right.
And it's also one of those things where you need to be careful because for different companies, the rates at which that trade-off is made can be very, very different. One of the things that we've learned here at HubSpot through our experience is that over time, we've grown the conversion rate on our forms to be very, very high. The average completion rate of one of our landing pages is over 50%.
Crazy.
But we ask a lot of questions.
We do, 11.
And those of you watching, like, yes, it's a lot of questions. And it's a good, you would normally say that that would be like really bad, but we've shown that for us and for our audience, for our brand, for our content of what we're asking people to download, it's actually a very high conversion rate. So it works well for us, but for many companies that would be bad. And the point of this data point is basically that same concept applies to giving permissions for Facebook apps.
It applies to everything, and I think the marketing takeaway here is only ask for the data that you need, because I think there is this tendency to be like, oh, I want more data, I want to ask for everything just to ask for everything, and you have to understand the cost of asking for that data.
Oops.
Oops.
And also do the math and understand the trade-off, and like understand the math behind that trade-off. Don't just sort of make assumptions about it. So, all right, next up we've got when the internet breaks.
Ooh.
So Amazon runs a lot of the internet now.
They do.
Most people, newsflash, but a lot of stuff is hosted at Amazon. Lots of people have blogs and websites there. Lots of companies host their software there. HubSpot actually is, we have not all, but much of our software actually lives at Amazon. So when things go bad at Amazon, things go bad for lots of people throughout the internet.
Huge portions of the internet.
So they had a huge outage, and it brought down a sizable chunk of the web, including Pinterest, Foursquare, Airbnb, Reddit, GitHub, Flipboard. Of course, all kinds of other things, tons of things.
Do we want to disclose? I mean, parts of HubSpot.
Parts of HubSpot, yeah, absolutely. We're transparent about that. It was bad. It was a bad day for a lot of people on the internet. And so it's just sort of interesting, and our angle on this was like less the sort of the internet outage and the data, what behind that and the technical stuff, but more like as a marketer, if your company, because of an outage like this, loses either something to do with your product or even just your website, or maybe a service that you rely upon to provide service to your customers or to do marketing, if part of that goes down, like what do you do as a marketer?
And this can affect all kinds of businesses. So as a marketer, I think you need to do a couple of things. I think you have to think about what your site outage page looks like. Do people see that, site unavailable, black and white text screen? Or do they see something that maybe shows a little bit of your brand, maybe a little bit of humor to keep them engaged? I also think you need to do a lot of communicating and focus on communicating to your customers, focus on communicating to your leads and prospects. Make sure people understand why your site isn't working and why it's down. Yeah. These things really matter because it can impact e-commerce sites, it can impact SaaS businesses like ours, and your software is down. It can impact ad revenue generating sites, where you're going to do reading. It generates all kinds of business.
Yeah. So you're saying, have a sense of humor and sort of build that into your brand. Make sure you communicate both to customers and prospects. And I would also say have a plan in place of how you're going to communicate with people. And don't think that we'll just post a message on our website. Well, if your website's down, it's going to be really hard to do that. So you have to think about leveraging, have multiple channels available and have a plan in place of, we'll do this within social media. But if social media or Twitter or all these things are down, what else are you going to do? Oh, maybe we'll do email. What else are you going to do? What are the other things you can do and have in place in advance and be ready for that communication? One of the things that we do is we have a site called trust.hubspot.com where we have current uptime and like what's working and not working about our site and our service for our customers. And that is on a totally different set of infrastructure from everything else at HubSpot. So we feel like it would be extremely unlikely that like everything would go down, including that thing, which is someplace totally different. So make sure you have sort of a plan in place for that stuff, and then make sure you prepare for next time.
Yeah.
And ask why this stuff happened and make sure it doesn't happen again, and have a better plan in place to do things better next time.
And that's actually the marketing takeaway is this happened this week. You've seen it. It actually happened a couple of months ago too. So are you ready for the next internet outage and to have you prepared. Do you know what your plan is?
Yeah, there you go. Cool.
Sounds good.
Well, we hope you're enjoying the new format of the show. We tried to make it a little faster. We've got high-def video coming to you.
So sexy.
Exactly. And for those of you that are closing out the show with us, if you have any story ideas or things that you want to hear about in the future, MKTGUp is the hashtag. We would love to hear from you.
We'll both
Feedback
monitor.
on the no show format and ideas for future stories or questions you want us to answer, just let us know. We'll be there.
Sounds good. See you all
Thanks.
next week.
Bye.